if I have words of advice, it's in the movie industry, it's this, is that in the process of what it is, whatever movie you want to make, or you have a vision of making and what's going to be, or you desire to play this character or whatever the reason is behind the door that you're making this movie, at the end of it, hopefully, is how does it serve the audience? What's the formula? Well, this is going to be great.
Welcome to the White House Pod. With David A.R. White.
I'm going to finish what I started. It's not easy, but it's simple.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the White House Pod, Dare to Dream. For all of you,
do we have a good guest on today?
Not really. You know, I think people might be. Actually, I think they might be kind of happy. You know, we're going to learn a little bit about David. We're going to learn about what goes on in his life today,
and we're going to learn a little bit about Dylan. And
back to David.
I'm sorry. Are you done with this introduction? Or are we still going?
No, I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
No, for all of you that you know, a lot of you have followed David's career. You know, you've seen all the amazing movies that have inspired a lot of people, and have made a difference. You know, and it's cool to see the direction that you're going with some of the new films and everything. So, kind of hoping we could talk a little bit about, you know, where you're going with your career at this time.
I think I guess we could.
So, last year, we had a little film come out called A Line of Fire. Mm-hmm. So, it got picked up by Sony, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then from there...
Big deal. That was a big deal because, like, you know, I think a kind of a testament to... Obviously, our podcast is called Dare to Dream, is the tagline of it. You know, we ask so many guests, what do they recommend for people to be able to achieve what they have gone off and achieved? The general consensus is become excellent at your craft. Mm-hmm. You've heard a lot of these too. Absolutely. So right, so it's become excellent at whatever it is that you want to do, and because we interview a lot of actors and primarily performers, work hard on that, become good at that. And then the other thing seems to be to not stop, to just keep moving or take that first step when so many people want to, you know, I'm praying for the perfect, you know, for the stars to align and give me an opportunity to go on, you know, the biggest movie set, and or even in business, you know, like that somebody can give me a perfect idea, or I'll get seed money, you know, somebody will fund my vision of whatever it is that you want to do. And I always, for me, my entire career, well, not my entire career, because obviously I moved to LA when I was 19 from Kansas. I say Kansas, even though I have Minnesota and Oklahoma in my background as well. But went to Chicago for a year to go to Bible school, and then also Northwestern, took classes at Northwestern, and dipped my foot into this idea of what it is in this industry, because I'd never met an actor. Obviously, from my family, you know, my father was a Mennonite pastor. It was how in the world are you going to be able to climb out of, or go into the entertainment industry of all things, when I had no example of it. Landed in L.A., acted. Fortunately, I was fortunate to be on Evening Shade at 19, and then to act through my 20s, but realizing it was getting harder and harder, I think, in my late 20s from the shows, to then going, okay, I'm fortunate enough to not be on the street, but I'm like a poor celebrity or rich person. Either way, I'm not to the marquee level to be able to just take off to the south of France, and I don't necessarily have to go get a regular job. I should try to figure something else out. And that was where producing came in.
What made you decide to get into the producing side of it, though? You know, because you're acting.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I loved acting, and interesting, you know, I had produced. Rich Cristiano was I call the Godfather of Christian movies, and he had told me, I think when I was 25 or 20, I think I'd done I was doing little, very small Christian films at the time, in between my commercials or my guest spots on TV shows. Evening Shade had ended at that point, and he said, "Why don't you do this?" And I had always had this itch in the back of my brain from when I was in high school, because every 3 years the Christian films would come out, and we would see one in church, and I was always super excited to see it, but it was like every 3 years.
Yeah.
Worldwide Pictures, Billy Graham's organization, would release a film. So there was no Christian movies going on at that point, other than like for, you know, I did one for Concerned Women for America or Youth for Christ or Focus on the Family. They had these little 30 to 50-minute movies. And so I think Rich Cristiano kind of planted that seed, and then also that thing that was inside of me from high school, that there was no marketplace for the faith-based industry.
Sure.
And I loved the craft of acting. That was my drive originally, but I always wanted to produce as well.
Okay.
And I think because I always wanted to tell stories and then put pieces together, my father was really good at that. My dad was a pastor, and he started Christian radio in all of Southwest Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Farmers didn't have any Christian radio in their, you know, when they were out in the middle of the field, and they spending all those hours out there. And so he had this concept idea that said, hey, I think the Lord put that on his heart to say, why don't you establish this thing? But what my dad was always good at was a connector to people. And I think that's what led me to the producing side was, hey, I can, why is there not a faith-based market for these type of movies? Oh, because there's not really that many, there's no movies.
Yeah.
So how do we change that? And we have to start making these movies. And this gets back to my whole point about where do you, you know, if I want to pursue my dream, dare to dream, how do I go about doing this? By taking that first step. And when we produced, Kevin Downs, myself, Brad Heller, and Wes Llewellyn, all of us got together and we said, okay, let's make a movie.
Sure.
And we raised $87,000. We, you know, put our one foot in front of the other, and we ended up with The Moment After, a 67-minute cut. And we're like, oh wait, the market's, you know, a wild, wild west here for faith-based movies, but they're still not going to take as a feature film an 67-minute movie. So Kevin and I went out and did a lot of walking shots, and then ended up, I think we had like an 83-minute movie.
Okay.
Or it was enough to cross over into an actual movie as opposed to just a, you know, like a church film.
Yeah. A lot of people think, you know what, I got to go out there, I got to raise $5 million, $10 million. You know, you did it for under $100,000, you know, to make this movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people,
which was a lot of money to all of us at the time.
Sure. But a lot of people think, oh, it's so much more. This is why I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that goes back to you saying, you know, you got to take that first step. You know, you got to sit there and go, you know what, how do I do this? Just sit down and start doing it. Write it. Get out there. Get your friends together like you did.
Yeah.
And then things start to fall in place.
Well, I feel like that's part of the secret, right, to life, or to success anyway, is just doing it, right? It's like in any fashion, you are unbelievably successful at social media. As a testament to you, you're nonstop working on. And social media doesn't make it easy on yourself either, because you think about all the platforms from TikTok to Twitter to
no different
or
than the
X
entertainment
to
business.
yeah, in a lot of ways. But I mean, like, it's not easy for
Sure.
you. It does get easier along the way. It ebbs and flows, right? And I'm not talking about social media here. I'm talking about like I'm back to
Making the movies.
back to making movies. Is that but you still have to have that hunger and drive to continually put your one foot in front of the other every day.
Sure.
And, we went from Moment After to, in 2000, we made a little movie called Mercy Streets with Eric Roberts, friend of the podcast here that we've had on, and Stacy Keach and a bunch of other people in that movie.
Was Robert Lasardo in that one?
He was. Yeah.
Yeah, I met him when I first moved to
He's
LA.
great.
Yeah. Crazy guy.
Yeah, if you guys are listening here, tune into. We always say tune into YouTube and Spotify for this exact reason, is because some of you might go, okay, Robert Lasardo. Who's Robert Lasardo?
He's like the quintessential bad guy, gangbanger in so many movies that he's done.
Oh, he's got it covered in tats and the whole thing. I actually saw him in Kings of New York with Christopher Walken. It's on Amazon, and it was popped up. The Kings of New York, I think.
I think it's the Kings of New York.
Yeah, Christopher Walken's one of his breakout films when he was, playing one of the Kings of New York. He gets out of jail, and then he takes his. It's a little bit like Scarface too. The rising of how am I going to run this drug? Obviously, but that's part of the reason why we share with you guys, and we continually tell you over and over and over again. And Dylan tells me to tell you about YouTube and Spotify. Is if you take a look at it, because you can watch the visuals, everything we talk about on this podcast, we show on the screen.
Yeah. And
I think that's a testament, again, to you, Dylan, and to your team, your producing team. To me, I'm amazed at you guys' your crew, that you take it one step further, and I think it's just it's rewarding to an audience member to show the visuals.
Everybody that's been through, it's like to see what they've done, where they've started, where they go. It's you follow them on their dream.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Well, their journey.
Yeah.
That's an exciting part. But I want to get back to this question, because you asked about A Line of Fire, right? And I've had a lot of questions about this going, wait a second. So you spent all this time on Pure Flix, right? In 2005, we basically started Pure Flix because we realized there was no distribution for the faith films. We proceeded to make a lot of these movies because there wasn't a lot of these movies. And more, obviously, the movie industry in the faith-based world has grown and expanded and pushed its borders out into the different studios, and then studios had faith divisions now. And it's been an exciting thing to see, and I've always had a heart for that, given the fact of, obviously, my dad was a pastor, and I loved the art form of movies themselves. So 2005 comes along, we start making Hidden Secrets, The Wager, Sarah's Choice, Blink of an Eye. Like, these movies start to they pop into our brains. We go, great, let's go hire a writer. We make these movies. And they come out, and a lot of them came out at the CBA marketplace, and then Blockbuster was a thing at that time. And it would go into Walmart and Target and all these places. Now that we had the distribution company, and then we would try to go direct with these different stores. And around that time, we also then had a longing for, I think the testament to this thing is that everybody has these, God gives these, some people don't think that's God, but I believe from my faith that God gives these visions or these things, and he puts it inside your heart about what it is that you want to do, or what it is that he created you to be really good at.
Sure.
And even if we are not good at it originally, he's given you the tools to do it. You just have to go do it.
Yep.
So it all comes down to, dare to dream. The White House Pod, Dare to Dream. that you take the tools and you take that first step and you start to go, okay, so we start to do all these movies. And then somewhere around 2012, it's the Kendrick brothers have come out now and Facing the Giants and these other things, and they're doing so well, in the theater. And then now TBN has released like Omega Code, and and that does 13 million at that point. And I think Facing the Giants did a 10 or 11, and then they're doing Fireproof, and somewhere around there, our vision becomes, well, we've been doing a lot of straight to video, home video movies, but we want to expand that territory again into what happens if you put a movie in the theater. Obviously, we saw what Facing the Giants and Fireproof did, and even the Omega Code, and it expanded that, that blueprint, that footprint. And so we were going, okay, how do we make a theatrical out of this? We ramp it up. God's Not Dead comes along in 2012. We make this movie. Clearly, it comes out in 14. Again, all of this to say, nothing seems to be easy, but not just in my world, in a lot of people's world.
Let me ask you real quick. It comes out. When it comes out, because a lot of people don't understand this part of releasing films, is how many theaters did you guys get at initial release? How did that work? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, God's Not Dead, we didn't know exactly how many theaters we were going into. It came into, I think it was like, it started at, well, I mean, we went into 700 theaters, but we didn't even know if we could make it into theaters. Again, it was like trying to raise the money to launch the movie.
Yep.
And so we end up doing that, right? We ended up raising the $5 to $6 million to just start the thing. And again, as a testament to every aspect, I think, of Pure Flix and was an arduous uphill, push, siege, so to speak, of just trying to make it work, of not being simple and easy, and how many times a lot of people have, oh, that was so easy in my life. I just stepped into it and bam. And there would be some people that would say, okay, well, maybe you weren't supposed to be doing this because it should have been easier.
Yeah.
But when you really believe, I think it comes down to that belief when you have something present itself and you go, or it's coming from your heart and your passion to go, I feel like I'm supposed to pursue this, even though all odds are against me. We raised $1.2 million to make the movie. We made the movie. We could have just put it out to home entertainment, but we really felt like it was supposed to be a theatrical movie.
Sure.
And everybody told us it was not supposed to be a theatrical movie. From the booksellers to the studios didn't want anything to do with it. They were like, home entertainment movie. And but we believed, we raised the money, mortgaged the company practically, got the movie out there, comes out first weekend. It shifted and changed culture of how the media and how certainly Hollywood viewed faith-based entertainment, because all of a sudden this little movie that is made for $1.2 million does $63 million in the box office over however many weeks.
And that was mainly domestic.
That is all domestic.
Yeah.
Becomes the number one independent movie of the year. And then it goes on to the coolest stat of it all is it's the number 6th movie, highest grossing movie in cinema history based on its ROI, which is return on investment. Yeah. So
I think it's right behind Grease, isn't it?
Yeah, it's either in front of Grease or right behind Grease. I don't know, but it's just an interesting.
Which is such an iconic movie. Yeah. It really is.
Well, and Grease, of course, was my only movie that I saw in a theater the first 18 years of my life. So
sure, it's kind of interesting how that came together.
Yeah, and there it is. But I go back to this whole thing. So obviously, then we'd make a ton of theatrical movies after that. It does very well. We start pureflix.com in 2015. A year later, actually, we were like, hey, I think my partner Russell Wolf and Michael Scott actually had that. I feel like it was one of their ideas. I think it was Russ's, but to say, hey, let's make a streaming platform because this is the next thing that should be. And then it allows people, even if they don't get the movie or go to the theater, they can stream it. And then, of course, jump to do that. That was arduous and hard, and how much money had to go into a streaming platform to make one profitable was a lot. I mean, a lot of over 50 million that we were deep into it. 2019 comes along. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Right? The theatricals have slowed a lot. They're not going well. We had to lay off a lot of our people. We had 100 and some employees, like 60 of them we had to lay off in 2019. It was a terrible year of, oh my gosh. And for a lot of reasons. And 2020 rolls around, and then, of course, a pandemic hits. And we're like, how are we going to get out of this thing? Somebody had an idea. Hey, let's run a commercial. David, go do these commercials. And, like Subway was giving away sandwiches and these, or any pick a place, and they were giving away something.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, why don't we do that? Why don't we say you can have a free subscription, help people out? Because financials obviously was a massive, everybody took a big hit in that year. And we started doing that. All of a sudden, the subscription basis, our audience really found that they liked this streaming platform in this time, in this dark time. And boom, they came back and rose up, and then Sony called, and next thing you know, Sony, took over and bought the company.
Wow. One of the things that you said, people think, oh, if it's not easy, maybe you should go a different route. You think of stories like David and Goliath, or you think of the story of Joseph, who, was sold into slavery and all of this stuff. So many of those people in history, in the Bible, they went through tough times, but look at what they achieved through it all. It was through that they actually came out and became who they were meant to be. God will use those tough times to mold us to be who we are, who he sees us to be in our life. And so you talk about, it was tough. It was an uphill battle the whole time through everything. But look at what it created. Look at where it's taken the Christian film industry, and now so many, because of where you guys went with it, you guys while you felt like somebody laid that groundwork for you, you and your team laid the groundwork for so many others to really take it to another level and show this is possible. You just, like you said, you got to take that step. You got to move forward. If you believe in it, go after it. Whether it's difficult or not, you got to go that route.
I mean, that's that's the thing, is that you never know, what it is that you're doing today that is going to speak volumes and or either impact people's lives in different ways. But it's also an encouragement. You just you can't see it because I feel like God just calls us to be present in the moment of where we're at right now.
Absolutely.
And, and then of course there's the whole thing. It's not about you, right? I was listening to a Rick Warren sermon today, and it was all about, that his opening line of the purpose-driven life is, it's not about you.
Yeah.
And I think so often, but we live in our whole media is, a lot of it is about you, right? It's about you doing whatever it is that you're creating, because it's coming, it's coming out of you. But ultimately, I think in the movie industry, speaking industry, writing a book industry, it's not about you. It's about the audience. It's about, yes, you're coming up with a concept that I believe is, I'd like to believe that God gave you that, inception of the idea. If I have words of advice, it's in the movie industry, it's this, is that in the process of what it is, whatever movie you want to make, or you have a vision of making and what's going to be, or you desire to play this character or whatever the reason is behind the door that you're making this movie, at the end of it, hopefully, is how does it serve the audience? What's the formula? You know, there's a formula to this stuff. I think we helped shape the creating a genre, you know, the faith-based genre. But even within the faith-based genre, there's all the other genres. There's action, there's comedy, there's drama, right? Horror, ironically. It's interesting that there are so many different sub-genres within the faith-based world.
Sure.
But the problem, and I think the pitfalls, when somebody makes a Christian movie or a faith-based movie, however you want to label it, you're serving an audience. So many Christian filmmakers I have run into, or even not even faith-based filmmakers, studios.
Sure. They
want to make a movie that's going to cross over, that is going to hit A, this faith audience, and B, the mainstream audience. So they're trying to do a crossover movie is what they call it. But the problem is, who's the audience? And so I feel like that's something that we did really well at Pure Flix, is that we served our audience. We said, what does our audience want here? What is the faith-based audience? They want a faith-based movies at the core and at their heart. It's about God's love and ultimately drives people to that.
Well, and I think with that, it's by finding that core audience and not focusing on spreading yourself so thin to so many other audiences, you will automatically cross into those other audiences as well, because those people then become your biggest advocates and they go out and they tell everybody. So you focused in on that. And I think that's any business. I don't care what it is, whether it's entertainment, whether it's you're on social media, like we've talked about, know your audience, know your product, create something that is going to help people, going to resonate with them. You know, if you're creating the new toaster of the future, how is it better? You know, things get redone all the time. Ideas in Hollywood get remade all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you and I talked about a few things earlier today. I was like, oh, they're remaking this movie. Why? You know, it was a great film in its own. But you can take it and put another adaptation to it, make it better. Creating something that can actually make a difference for people, that's where you start to find that success in it.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me, David, you're making action movies and straight up action movies. These movies are not faith-based action movies, which I did make. You know, we made Beckman, we made Love on the Rock. I think we helped pioneer even the action movies in. Now, there were end of the world movies ahead of time, but not very many. The Thief in the Night series, you know, those movies. I don't even know if they were actually movies, like 90-minute movies at the time. But I'm not even 100% sure what other movies, Christian action movies, existed before we started making The Moment After. Obviously, I think Left Behind might have been on their first or second book at that time, but the movies hadn't been done. Even early on, you know, people are like, well, what in the world is happening here? Because it's a God's Not Dead guy or Reverend Dave now, you know, in an action movie. But for a little, you know, just to say, for some context here, is that way back in my 20s, late 20s, my first two movies I produced were, I mean, straight produced, because I helped produce, you know, whatever the movie with Rich Cristiano, those movies. But I was just a co-producer on those things. But with the movies that I actually produced was The Moment After, which we didn't have much action in it because we didn't have much action budget. But we started to have a little bit, and there was more in 2. Right? And 6, The Mark Unleashed, in Mercy Streets. So my first 2 was The Moment After and Mercy Streets. And Mercy Streets can have action in it. I'm still in my late 20s when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But I always loved it. And in my 20s, I started doing taekwondo and training and all through that whole thing. And I always loved And I had this dream in the vision of to do the action movies early on. I also had the vision and the purpose and the hope to help build the faith-based genre. So the idea of some people's brain, they can't like go, wait, what? Because you did how many faith-based movies?
Sure.
And where did this action thing come from?
Yeah.
But the action thing has always been there. I've always loved it. I've always had a passion for it. So here we go. Sony acquires Pure Flix. We run it for 3 years, and then we're out. For whatever reason, our 10-year, or actually it was like 20-year, ended. And the question was, okay, now what are you going to do? Because, we built this baby of ours into an SVOD, into theatrical movies, into this whole thing. And then all of a sudden, obviously the industry changed as well. But I felt like the Lord God had said to you, you know what? Well done on this. I love, at the end of my life, what is it that you want to hear God say to you when you enter the pearly gates, right? Well done, my good and faithful servant. So that door, with every door, doors close, right? Eventually, you run and you're doing them, and then those doors close.
With doors closing, and I actually just watched something yesterday, a sermon, and it literally was about how God will open and close doors.
Yeah.
It's he closing doors is not a bad thing. Sometimes those doors close for the right reason, because it's like
because another door will be open.
Exactly. This part of your story, your book of your life, that chapter is done, and now there's another chapter that I'm opening up to you. Yeah. And so that's where it kind of
goes. And I think where it
you.
falls off, sometimes it falls off to us because when one chapter closes, a lot of times we feel like it's the death of whatever.
Sure.
Right?
It's almost like it's ending the story.
I got divorced.
Yeah.
That chapter closed.
Sure.
Where neither Andrea and I saw it coming for years, and obviously without going into that more, someday we'll have Andrea on the podcast and we'll talk about it. Maybe. But obviously it's personal. But it's that was 2020 for us, and that was like a whole thing of, well, so is there a new chapter door opening here? What is the new door opening? And on the career side of it, it was, well, I felt I've always wanted to do the action things more and more, and I was being drawn to that. Whether or not that's God saying, okay, go for that or not, I believe it was, though. For me, it was. I felt like it was, he closed this door, something that I was passionate about, but this other door was opening, and I'm thrilled to be in it as of now, So we made this little movie, A Line of Fire. And of course, when A Line of Fire with Cuba Gooding Jr., Jason Patrick, if you're watching it, you're seeing some visuals on there. It was a little movie that started in my house. Matt Shapiro, my buddy, directed it, came on with us. We wrote this script. Mostly Chris Covell and Matt Shapiro wrote the script. Okay, well, we haven't raised any money yet. So where are we going to start? Well, I guess we're going to start at my gym, my boxing gym. We're going to do that one first with our little crew of 3-4 people. And then we're going to do probably the house next. We'll shoot that part next. And I guess I'll have my daughters play because I love having my daughters play.
Yeah.
And they're really good, I think, as well. And the audience thinks that as well. So, but in the process of it, that little movie grows and grows and grows. More people come on board that movie, right? And all of a sudden, the end of it, you screen it, Sony, one of the biggest major studios in the world, picks it up, comes out in SUV or VOD and all kinds of places, Apple and those places. And then it has one more, it runs at the Miami International Film Festival to acclaim. And then all of a sudden we get to release it on Netflix.
Yeah. And
the biggest screening platform in the world.
And not just get it there.
In Christmas. Right around Christmas.
Right around Christmas.
Yeah.
So it's an action film on Christmas where everybody's watching.
You would think Christmas movies.
Yeah. And for 2 weeks straight, top 10.
Most top 10 movies on Netflix.
Yeah. Top 10 movies on Netflix.
Yeah.
And most people that get their movies on Netflix or any of those types of large platforms, Amazon, Hulu, whatever, they never make it top 10, so then it brings that bit of validation where it's like, okay, yeah, this is God, like he had his hand on this.
And I think that's the tricky part sometimes. I think as Christians, we walk by our faith, right? Faith is unseen, but it's what hopefully in a lot of our lives, if you're somebody who is seeking God, is that you're run by that, right? So it's a different mentality because you want to obviously serve God in what you do, and it's a little weird in the way that I'm going into an action movie where I've never had language in a movie because I've been in so long because I've been doing faith-based movies,
Sure.
right? Or we've had the action already.
Yeah.
So that's not really a new thing to us, except, some people would argue, well, where's the faith content to it? How in the world, wait a second. You're like the God's Not Dead franchise guy,
Yep.
right? You've been at 5 of them.
Yep.
Been all around the world. People recognize you all around the world for this specific thing. And now you're on every airplane, American Airlines or Emirates airplanes. Yeah. Somebody actually just wrote me, it's fun to see that it's still on there. Sure. That I like. And because it also starts with an A, it's first up and new releases. A line of fire. But the fun aspect of it is it gets back to this idea that you got to serve the audience. And the action audience wants action. Yeah. At the core, that's the heart of it. And so to our people out there who have loved our movies over the years, this isn't a God's Not Dead movie, clearly. Yeah. But it's not servicing that audience. It's servicing the action audience.
Yeah.
And in the process, what I am excited about, though, obviously we just finished a movie called Straight Shot.
Which is, if you guys haven't seen the trailer yet, go on YouTube, watch it. It's tons of action. Yeah,
close to 1 million views already.
If you go to David's Instagram, it's there. It's on his YouTube. It's kind of that throwback, that comedy action type feel to it, and it's fun. Like it's a fun trailer to watch, and it's different than A Line of Fire, but still an action film.
Yeah, with Dolph Lundgren, Tyrese Gibson from Fast and the Furious, from Rachel E. Cook, from
William Forsythe, Nikki Whelan,
so many wonderful people. And so I'm excited about that movie, but because we're not talking about that movie today, we'll table that except to say it'll be interesting to see where Straight Shot goes. A Line of Fire, I couldn't have planned it better. Like it really, I'm always grateful to when the people who also whip out their, this sounds like from the 1800s, their pocketbook, and they write you a check. But you have to have money to make the movies.
Sure.
We'd had it for a while. The studios were funding us for a while, which was super great. You have your ups and, when times are a little easier in ways. But at the same token, we have independent investors that believe in what we're doing. And I'm thrilled that Line of Fire, they made money and everything was wonderful on that side of it. And it was a great investment for them and will continue to be for years. And now we have this movie Straight Shot that we are screening in front of studios, and we will, we'll pick this back up again when we to be continued on where that one goes.
Yeah.
At the core of it, and then we're in the middle of shooting Panic Button right now.
Which I'm excited
just got out of Miami shooting that, and on our way to South Carolina here in a little bit. But the fun aspect of all of this, and it all gets back down to this what we were just saying.
Yeah,
is you got to just put that foot in front of the other, and keep walking to your dream. Whatever that dream is, the White House pod, dare to dream, right? How do you pursue your dreams? Just start. However it is, and then keep doing it to be excellent at whatever it is that you are desiring to do. And I'm a big believer. If you're a believer, pray about these things, right? Say, Lord, what do you want me to do? I have these things that are burning inside of me, and I want to pursue them, but I don't know how to do it. If you feel like that's in there, start that process and just start. And when you start and when you're walking, eventually you'll get somewhere.
Your life is you're on a sailboat and you're thinking, okay, point A, point B.
Mm-hmm.
But when the winds come, they'll blow you to the right, blow you to the left, but you just keep going forward. And before you know, even though it's gone, your path has gone in many different directions, you'll still get there. But all those directions help you through it all. I was doing social media before social media was what it is. It's a way for us to communicate with each other, but it's a way to advertise. And we can use that to progress forward. And I never, in my mind, when I was a kid, I never thought that, oh, you're going to be doing this like as a big part of your business.
Yeah. And changing and helping to change and shift other businesses. Yeah. And not just one of them. Well, guys, we're going to leave you with this. And we just want to say, on behalf of Dylan and myself, is that you guys have been wonderful to watch all of these podcasts. I mean, we've released over 100 podcasts, like a lot of them. That's a lot. And had unbelievable, extraordinary people on these podcasts. Like, I'm actually honored to have been part of those conversations. And Dylan and his crew have done such a great job of just taking them and turning them into something beautiful and special, I think, despite me. But you guys have just been the best all the way back. Some of you guys have been with me for so many years over all those movies. And I just want to say thank you. And thank you for coming back here. And thank you for being here with us again every week. Please write us, please comment about what you want more of in these podcasts and or even in the movies or want less of. And we will try to give you those things because ultimately we're here to serve. God bless you guys.